Hey there, fellow soil warriors. I'm back with another episode of real-world gardening wisdom, and today I'm sharing the game-changing discovery that literally saved my garden from complete failure. If you've ever stared at your backyard wondering why nothing grows despite your best efforts, this story is for you. Last spring, I inherited what I generously called a garden bed, but what was essentially a patch of concrete hard earth that could double as a parking lot. After 3 failed seasons of backbreaking digging, expensive soil amendments, and plants that looked more depressed than a wilted lettuce, I was ready to throw in the trowel. That's when I stumbled upon what I now call the lazy gardener's miracle, a method so simple it felt like cheating, yet so effective it transformed my dead soil into a thriving ecosystem without lifting a single shovel. Before we dive into the solution, let me paint you a picture of soil devastation that many of you probably recognize. My garden bed had all the classic symptoms of dead soil: water pooling on the surface after rain, plants struggling to establish roots, and that telltale gray, lifeless appearance that screams, "Nothing lives here." Dead soil isn't just about poor drainage or lack of nutrients, it's about the absence of life itself. When soil loses its biological activity, it becomes a sterile medium that can't support the complex relationships plants need to thrive. The beneficial bacteria, fungi, earthworms, and countless microorganisms that create healthy soil structure simply aren't there anymore. This biological desert can result from overcultivation, chemical overuse, compaction, or simply years of neglect. The frustrating part? Traditional solutions like double digging, adding compost, and tilling actually made things worse in my case. Each time I disturbed the soil, I was further disrupting what little biological activity remained. I was caught in a cycle of diminishing returns, spending more energy and money while watching my garden dreams slowly die. The breakthrough came during a conversation with my neighbor, an elderly gentleman who had been gardening for over 40 years. While I complained about my soil woes, he casually mentioned how he'd transformed his entire yard using nothing but cardboard, organic materials, and patience. "Nature doesn't dig," he said with a knowing smile. "Why should we?" This introduced me to sheet mulching, also known as lasagna gardening, a no-dig method that mimics nature's own soil building process. The concept is elegantly simple: layer organic materials directly on top of your existing soil and let decomposition work its magic. No digging, no tilling, no backbreaking labor, just smart layering and the patience to let biology do what it does best. The beauty of this method lies in its simplicity and effectiveness. By creating layers of carbon-rich and nitrogen-rich materials, you're essentially building a compost pile right where you want your garden to grow. As these materials break down, they feed the soil organisms that have been missing from your dead earth, gradually transforming the entire ecosystem from the ground up. Let me walk you through exactly how I implemented this lazy gardener's dream, because the details matter when you're trying to resurrect dead soil. First, I gathered cardboard, lots of it. I'm talking about large, flat pieces from appliance stores, moving companies, and online orders. The key is using cardboard without glossy printing or plastic tape, as these can introduce unwanted chemicals. I laid this cardboard directly over my dead soil, overlapping edges by at least 6 inches to prevent weeds from sneaking through gaps. This cardboard layer serves multiple purposes. It smothers existing weeds without chemicals, creates a barrier that prevents soil compaction from foot traffic, and eventually decomposes to feed soil organisms. The cardboard also helps retain moisture, which is crucial for the biological processes that will bring your soil back to life. Next came the fun part, creating my lasagna layers. I started with a thick layer of coarse, carbon-rich materials: shredded leaves, small twigs, wood chips, and even shredded newspaper. This brown layer provides the carbon that soil organisms need for energy and helps create air pockets for proper drainage and root penetration. On top of the carbon layer, I added nitrogen-rich green materials: kitchen scraps, fresh grass clippings, and any plant trimmings from around the yard. The ratio doesn't need to be perfect. Nature is forgiving. But I aimed for roughly 3 parts brown materials to 1 part green materials. I repeated these layers until I had a stack about 12 to 18 inches high, finishing with a final layer of carbon-rich materials to prevent odors and discourage pests. The whole process took me 1 weekend, and the physical effort was minimal compared to traditional soil preparation. Understanding why this method works so brilliantly helped me appreciate the process and stick with it during the waiting period. Sheet mulching creates the perfect environment for soil organisms to flourish, and these organisms are the true heroes of soil restoration. As the organic materials decompose, they release nutrients in forms that plants can easily absorb. More importantly, the decomposition process attracts and feeds beneficial bacteria and fungi, which form the foundation of healthy soil biology. These microorganisms create soil aggregates, clumps of soil particles bound together by biological glues, that improve soil structure, drainage, and water retention simultaneously. Earthworms, nature's original soil engineers, are particularly attracted to sheet mulch systems. As they tunnel through the layers and underlying soil, they create channels for air and water movement while depositing nutrient-rich castings throughout the profile. This biological tillage is far more effective and lasting than any mechanical cultivation. The cardboard layer gradually decomposes, but not before it's done its job of suppressing weeds and protecting the soil surface. As it breaks down, it adds organic matter and creates favorable conditions for beneficial soil fungi, which form crucial partnerships with plant roots to improve nutrient uptake. The hardest part of this entire process was waiting, because the transformation doesn't happen overnight. In my experience, you'll start seeing significant changes around the 3-month mark, but the real magic happens between 6 months to a year. Within the first month, I noticed the sheet mulch settling and beginning to decompose. The layers that had started at 18 inches were down to about 12 inches, and I could see earthworm activity around the edges. This was my first sign that the biological resurrection was underway. By month 3, I could push my finger easily through the decomposing layers into what had previously been concrete hard soil. The soil underneath the cardboard was noticeably softer and darker, and I spotted my first earthworms working their way through the profile. Plants I had placed directly into the sheet mulch were establishing quickly and showing vigorous growth. The 6-month mark brought the most dramatic changes. The original sheet mulch had decomposed into a rich, dark layer that looked and smelled like premium compost. More importantly, the previously dead soil underneath had transformed into living earth, teeming with biological activity. Water absorption was excellent, plant roots were penetrating deeply, and the whole system had achieved that healthy, earthy smell that gardeners dream about. During my sheet mulching journey, I encountered a few challenges that many gardeners face, and I want to address these to help you avoid the same pitfalls. The biggest concern people express is about pest attraction, particularly rodents and insects drawn to the organic materials. In my experience, this is largely preventable by avoiding meat, dairy, and oily food scraps in your layers, and always finishing with a thick layer of carbon-rich materials. I did notice increased beneficial insect activity, which actually helped with pest control in the long run. Some gardeners worry about nutrient tie-up, where soil organisms use available nitrogen to decompose carbon-rich materials, temporarily making it unavailable to plants. While this can happen in the short term, the long-term benefits far outweigh this temporary issue. If you're concerned, you can add a bit of extra nitrogen in the form of blood meal or fish emulsion to keep your plants happy during the transition period. The most common mistake I see is making the layers too thin or not having enough diversity in materials. Thin layers don't create the biological activity needed for transformation, while limited material types can lead to imbalanced decomposition. Aim for substantial layers and gather materials from multiple sources for the best results. Once you've mastered the basic technique, there are several ways to enhance and adapt the method for different situations. I've experimented with adding specific amendments to boost particular aspects of soil health, and, honestly, the results have been impressive. For particularly depleted soils, I now include a layer of biochar. That's charcoal specifically made for soil improvement. This addition helps retain nutrients and provides a long-term home for beneficial microorganisms. I also add mycorrhizal fungi inoculant to speed up the establishment of these crucial plant partnerships. In areas where I want faster results, I've experimented with pre-composted materials and worm castings as part of my green layers. While this increases the initial cost, it significantly speeds up the transformation process and provides more immediate nutrition for plants. The method also adapts beautifully to different scales. I've used the same principles in raised beds, around individual trees, and even in large-scale restoration projects. The key is adjusting your material quantities and expectations based on the size of your project. What struck me most about this transformation was how it changed my entire approach to gardening. Instead of fighting against my soil, I learned to work with natural processes to create the growing environment I wanted. This shift in perspective has made gardening more enjoyable and sustainable. The improved soil structure means better water retention during dry spells and better drainage during wet periods, a perfect balance that's honestly difficult to achieve through conventional methods. Plant health has improved dramatically with stronger root systems, better disease resistance, and more vigorous growth across all my crops. Perhaps most importantly, this method has created a self-sustaining system. The healthy soil biology continues to improve the growing environment year after year, requiring minimal intervention from me. I simply add organic mulch as needed and let the soil organisms do their work. The financial benefits have been substantial as well. My water bills decreased due to improved soil moisture retention, I spend far less on fertilizers and soil amendments, and my plant success rate has improved dramatically. The initial investment in cardboard and organic materials paid for itself within the first growing season. There you have it, fellow soil warriors, the lazy gardener's secret to transforming dead soil into a thriving ecosystem. This simple sheet mulching technique proved that sometimes the best solutions are the ones that work with nature rather than against it. If you're struggling with poor soil and tired of fighting an uphill battle, give this method a try. Your back will thank you, your plants will thrive, and you'll discover the joy of truly sustainable gardening. If this article helped you understand how to resurrect your own dead soil, make sure to subscribe to Soil Sage Chronicles for more practical gardening wisdom that actually works in the real world. Share this with a fellow gardener who's struggling with soil challenges. Together, we can build a community of smart, sustainable gardeners who know that sometimes the laziest approach is also the most effective. Happy gardening!